Can everybody hear me? I'm Eileen Panico. I've been a resident of this district for 22 years. I have 3 children that have all gone through the Connecticut School District. My youngest, my baby, is graduating this year. Call me a masochist. I still want to run for the school board. I believe in the community. I believe in the kids. I believe it should always be about the kids first. I believe in fiscal responsibility. I question the board constantly. I'm at every single board meeting. I videotape everything. So if you missed a meeting, you can always go online under my name and find it. I also question them about the money. You heard Linda today. It's not a 0% increase, it's a 0% tax levy. We're still increasing the spending by 2.92%. So I will always include the community. I believe in transparency, and I believe in community. If I get elected, it's not my opinion that matters. It's all of your opinions that matter. I will never make a unilateral decision. It will always be after asking the community, the kids, or whatever stakeholders are needed at that time. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Mark Warshaw. I've been a resident of the community for over 20 years. A lot of people know because they see me on the football field. I've been coaching here for 17 years. As a resident, I feel it's important to give back, and I felt the need to give back, and that's why I coached as long as I did. I volunteered for many different organizations, and it was gratifying in so many different levels for myself. I faced many obstacles in life, which I'm sure everybody does, and one of them was losing a son. I felt it necessary and beneficial to use those emotions that I had and reflect it for a positive outcome. With my personal experiences, I feel I can make a great trustee for the Board of Education, be a positive influence, be transparent, listen, and I will give my heart to everything I do. That's basically how the kids know me. I talk about heart all the time. And you gotta have a big heart, and I feel like I instill that. It's not about winning or losing, it's about what's here and what you're willing to do. And I'm willing to go the extra distance in whatever I need to do, and I will put my effort in there for you people and for us as a community, the administration, and everybody going forward. That's the objective. And I would love to, and I'd be very humble if it does happen. Thank you.
My name is Robert Hochstein. I've been a resident for about 20 years. I worked for the district for 23 years. 14 of those years I was director of facilities here. I was also the health and safety officer. Through that position, I attended many board meetings, and I was familiar with the inner workings of the district. I believe that we should make sure that our children are taken care of. We need to speak about the administration, the faculty, the staff, and especially the community. I'm lucky enough to be retired. I have the time to give to the office, and I would love to get back into the district. Not gonna reach. That's great.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. My name is Ferraioli. I am the current Vice President of the school board. I've been on the board for the last 3 years. I've had the pleasure of working with some tremendous people here in Connecticut. Together with the other board members, we've done some great things, I think, in the last 3 years. We've added a lot of programs. We've added a lot of clubs at the high school. We have changed some curriculum stuff for our kids. We have informed parents of their rights as far as the opt-out movement and what they can and cannot do. We've tried to make it more comfortable for the kids when they are choosing one way or the other, so that it's fair for everybody. Those are things that I want to continue. I want to continue working with the current administration to serve you and your kids. I am a 12-year resident of the district. Grew up in a nearby neighborhood. Always was right on the border of Connecticut and had friends here, so I thought it was a great place to bring my kids up and raise my family, and that's why I moved here. My education is in business and also in education. I have been a teacher for 19 years in Brentwood. So I'm a lifelong educator. This is what I do. I really enjoy it. I've enjoyed working here in Connecticut with everybody, and I want to continue doing that, so I hope you let me serve you and your kids. Thank you.
All right, with that, does anybody have any questions for the candidates? If you want to come up here, that way they can hear you when you're going to ask a question.
Yeah, I would like to know each of your opinion on this going from 5 members to 7 members. I'd like to know what your stand is on it and why you have that stand.
We'll start with Eileen again, and then we'll rotate.
Okay, sounds good. Well, since I'm the one that brought the petition to the board to vote on, this was the second time I actually brought the petition to vote on. The first time, the board at the time declined to put it on the ballot for the voters to vote. I'm not in support of it or against it. I just believe that we all, as voters, have the right to vote on it. So I brought it again this year with all the proper signatures, and it went through. So it's up to the voters to decide. I like it because I think that it will diversify the board. Right now the last 3 years, we've had a majority on the board that has run the district. I think it's very hard to get a 4-person majority rather than a 3-person majority. And I think that you'll get a bigger diversity if you have 7 members. In school districts our size around, it's 7 to 9 members. We're the only ones really with 5 members. So that's one of the main reasons that I did bring it. The second time, it did get passed, and it is on the ballot for you guys to vote on. So I hope that you do that. Thank you.
Would you like us all to answer?
Yes.
No problem. I don't have a stand either way. I prefer to stay the way it is. I kind of believe 5 people is enough people as long as you are working together. And as we've seen, it's hard for 5 people to work together. 7 might be a little bit more difficult. So my opinion is 5 is plenty. I think the cost is very minimal, but I'd rather spend the money somewhere else for the children. To me, I think we're sufficient with 5, and I think if you have the right 5 people that care about the district, you're okay. I'm not totally against it. If you came up with ideas and wanted me to switch it, my ears are always open. I'm ready to listen. I'm learning here today. I'm learning with everything, and that's the best part about what I'm willing to do, is I feel like I want to get educated and learn a lot more, and that's what I'll do for everybody here. Thank you.
I think it's a good idea to have a 7-member board. As Eileen said, diversity helps. You have a 5-member board now that has a problem getting along and making decisions unilaterally. I think a 7-member board would be able to put something else in perspective, and I think it would work better.
When the proposal was first brought to the board, I definitely know that I was not as educated on the topic as I could have been. I did do some research. I think there's some pluses and minuses in both sides of it, and talking to a lot of people. That being said, the money was always an important thing for me, that the people knew how much they were spending on an election. Now that it's been done properly, the money's on there, the signatures are in, I voted to put it on as a proposition, and I will be voting for it on May 15th.
Any other questions? Gary?
Right there, discussions on what you want to do, but I've heard nothing from any of you. What are you going to do to try to cut expenses of the school district, which will help the taxpayer? What ideas do you have at all on cutting expenses? And what ideas do you have about possibly some other things that will help the school district?
Why don't we start, Mark, we start with this one.
Some of the ideas I have for the school district, I know there's a grant program in some school districts, and they have somebody that actually just works on grants, and they're a writer and they get paid, and obviously they're bringing in more money than what they're getting paid. That's why they have them. So I think if we can get somebody to actually just concentrate on that, it would bring in a lot more money for the school district. And if you have somebody that's sharp on the phone and learns with experience, I think they could bring in money. I have a business myself, and I've learned how to communicate and do what I have to do to make a living, and basically it's been my marketing. Another thing that I'd like to get going is something with intramurals for the kids. I know there's so many things with sports and things that are going on with the sports in the district, and then a lot of kids don't make some teams, and it's heartbreaking, and they feel like they failed. They're not failures, just something they didn't make. Maybe they're going to grow up to be a doctor. But it's still okay to have a little intramural for them and have a little fun with their friends and communicate. And I think it's important that they learn how to stay off the phones and the Nintendo and everything they're doing all the time, and have that contact, of getting to know one another and really doing what you really need to do as a kid. I'm sure most of us here, when we were growing up, it's one of the things we did. There was no phones, so we were outside playing. And I like to see a little bit more of that. I'm not saying I'm against technology and everything, that's great, but there's a time to be outside also. As far as cutting deficits, I'd have to see the actual books and look into it more. I can't give you an answer unless I see it and see what the spending is going on. But running a business like I do, I will find out what we're spending money on and what we're wasting money on. And that's my job, and that's what you're going to be telling me to do, and I will look into it. That's really the best I can give you on that. I wish I could tell you. I wish I had the privy of knowing what's going on, but I don't. But if I'm elected, I will do what I have to do. Thank you.
I haven't had the opportunity to really take a look at the district's budget and what they've used in the past year or so, but I can say that they're probably as fiscally responsible as they can be in the times that we're in. Nobody wants to have anything cut for the kids. When you talk about budget cuts, or when you talk about budget cuts, you're basically talking about removing things from the district. The district has moved forward in such a way, I think it would be detrimental if we cut anything.
As far as cutting and trying to cut the budget down, I think if you look at my track record over the last 3 years, we have done just that. We have taken the budget and we have decreased the tax levy every year since I've been on the board, thanks to the hard work of all of our board members, not just myself. One of the things that when I first got on, the person that I ran with and myself wanted to try to have a 0% tax levy. We did that this year. That means that there's no extra cost to the taxpayer. Yes, there is money being spent over the budget. That money's coming from money we previously had. We're using that so we don't have to tax. Some of that money comes from the state and increased state aid. Every year, unfortunately, there are certain things that are going to go up, in contracts, things like that. So we have to be mindful of that. We have brought, just recently, an energy company into the district to save us money. It's a guaranteed savings. If we don't save money, they will write us a check for the difference in the amount of money that it cost us. So we are making plenty of strides to try and cut those costs down for you. We understand that it's difficult. We look at those things. Those are the things that are important. So I think we've done a pretty good job, and you're not going to pay any more tax next year than you paid this year. So that's a pretty big step, I think.
Okay, I have a few things. First of all, when I go to the board meetings, I question, every time they spend something, I question why. Most of the spending that I've seen in the past 3 years is for administrators. We are extremely top-heavy. We need to cut some of that. We have assistants, we have APs, we have directors, we have all these supervisors for departments. Just at the last meeting, they hired a director for guidance when we already have an AP at guidance. We really should be hiring guidance counselors and doing more with children, more programs and services for children, and not approving all these administrators and all these APs and directors and consulting firms on top of that. That's the first thing. 4 years ago, we had an audit done. It was a big thing in Newsday. We were $33 million cumulatively, sorry about that, over budget. The law is 4%. We consistently go over that. Every year I have been standing in front of the board, and anybody that goes to the board meetings can tell you, and I ask them why we were over. Last year, we were at $19 million in our unapplied fund balance. That's way over the 4% limit. It should not be that way. This year, we're at a 0% tax levy. We are still at a 2.92% spending increase, which means that 4% that by law we're allowed to have has now increased. So now they're allowed to go over more. I'm anticipating that we're still going to be over that this year, even by the end of the year, even with all the padding that they do. We're going to have plenty of money left over that we could have done a real 0%. We didn't need the 2.92% spending increase. And I've been very vocal about that at every board meeting. We're not fiscally responsible. Again, the directors and the APs. We've decreased the tax levy. You had 3 years. We had 3 years to do that while you were on the board, Nick. I'm sorry. This was the first year that it was put at 0% tax levy. Before that, it was the people coming to the board meetings asking about it. It was done by the cap. Each year it was done at the cap. And again, when you say at the cap, it's above the cap. And then they're allowed certain things deducted from it to bring it under the cap. So it's always more than 2%. And it's been that way for years, and it has to stop. Finally, this energy company that, I forget who mentioned that, but anyway, the energy company, it's kind of like, I was at that meeting with a couple of other people in here. It's kind of like solar panels. What they save you on electric, you're still paying the same rate, and they go by the base rate. So every year that you save money, they're actually making the money for the 5 years. We're not actually getting a check back unless, as Nick said, they don't save us money. We're actually spending the exact same amount. So we're not saving any money, we're just not spending any extra. So I think that we can do a lot more to lower our tax bill for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to ask each of you, assuming you're elected, what your vision is for Connecticut School District and, how you might want to put your own fingerprint on our district. What that might look like.
Well, obviously, I'd like to see the district move forward. There are items that need to be discussed and possibly eliminated. Board members need to listen to the public, hear what they have to say. They also need to listen to the parents and the faculty, and also hear what they have to say. That's really about what I have.
Can you explain what you mean by move forward and listen to the public? You said you want to see the district move forward. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I'd like to see it move forward economically, budget-wise. I'd like to be able to see it move forward student and activity-wise, and dealing with things with the state and what have you. I think they should be able to do that also and improve on that.
That's good. Nate?
When I was elected 3 years ago, one of the things we talked about was a more cohesive Connecticut, and it hasn't happened quite the way we've liked it. There's been some adversity along the way. I'd like to see that try to become a better situation. That being said, I think that under all the things that sometimes we hear about in the public and the big items that get screamed about from time to time, there's been some tremendous work by our administration that we've helped to oversee. They do a great job for your kids. I'd like to see those programs continue moving forward. We've added academies at the high school, which are very similar to some of the BOCES programs for some of our kids that aren't going to venture on to college. The plan is to continue that and adding more of those each year within our district and bring some of that money that we spend at BOCES back. because we were able to do it actually cheaper, so it's another cost-cutting measure, as well as enhancing an experience for our children. I think that as far as leaving a mark on the district, I didn't come here with an agenda to leave a mark on the district. Other than when I first started, my goal was to inform parents of their rights as far as the testing situation. We're still working on that. I've been working with legislators. I've been speaking to them about still trying to get these crazy tests uncoupled from our teachers and our buildings so that our kids aren't hurt by it. I think it's important that parents know their rights. So if that's the mark and the legacy that I lead, because we've come a long way with that in the last 4 years, it's still not there yet. But if that's the mark and legacy that I leave, then I'll be fine with that. Hopefully I get to do some more in the next 3 years.
I don't have a vision or a fingerprint that I want to leave. I think that's up to our students to do that, to leave their fingerprint and their vision. But we can help them by doing several things. First of all, as a board, we should never make unilateral decisions. We should never even make decisions as a board without hearing the community, the teachers, and the kids' input. All of those stakeholders matter first and foremost. It's never just about the board and what they think. When you elect someone, it's to carry out your wishes. Now, my opinion doesn't matter. It's what you guys want. I'm part of a 9-member board right now, and we never do our own wishes. It's all about what our members want. Here, it would be what the students want, what the community wants, and what the teachers want, because that's our members. Our policy and procedures do need help. We have a lot of policies, and they're all in writing, and you can access them at any time. Our procedures, however, are another different story. There are procedures that are supposedly in place, but they're never written down. I've asked for copies of an attendance procedure, or any procedure that you can name. There are procedures for it, but they're not written down, so they're not accessible to the parents and to the community. I think we need to fix that. I think the opt-out kids, I think this school district at 74% to 76% opt-out, I think that there's a lot of things that we could be doing better for those kids. We have 26% that don't opt out, that are being sat in empty classrooms taking a test, and you've got 74% of them sitting in another room, all crowded in, and they have to be really quiet. They're allowed to play some games or color, but it's not enough. So we can fix that. We need more programs and services for the kids. As I mentioned before, we are very top-heavy. The administration, between their assistants and their APs and guidance and consultants, it's just too much. So we should be spending some of that money on programs and services for our kids. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I've said this at many board meetings. BOCES is an amazing program for those kids that are not going to college. Our guidance counselors need to promote BOCES. By spending the money on all the equipment that BOCES already has is not really a cost savings by bringing it back into our school. There are some programs that we can do at our school that we may do better than BOCES, but you're not going to do cosmetology better. You're not going to do cooking better. You're not going to do plumbing, electrical, or any of the trades better than what BOCES already has. So we shouldn't spend our money on that when BOCES already has it. It's just reinventing the wheel. And that's about it. Finally, again, it's all about community and kids. We have to put them first. Thank you.
Question was what I would want to bring to the community, to the board.
What's your vision?
What are my vision? My vision, I like love. I like communication. I like loyalty. I think it's important. I think it's important to really care about one another. There's not a lot of passion left in the world, and I really believe in passion. It's one of the most important ingredients in life. And my mother taught me that, and I'm going with it, and I believe it. One of the things I see that I don't like is there's not enough respect on the board, and they don't treat each other the right way. My specialty is I believe, and I try to make it so people respect one another and understand that when you're talking to somebody, whether it's another elder person, you think about it like it's your mother. How do you want that person to talk to that person? You need to have a little compassion. You sometimes get cut off on the road and you're ready to go crazy on the guy. And meanwhile, if it was your friend, you'd laugh with him. We don't have enough of that. And really, that's what I really want to bring to the table. and bring it so we're walking around everybody with their heads up. And you know, you're proud to be part of Connecticut, that we all feel like we're part of one family. And you know what? It's a dream, but it's a dream that I'm gonna try my best to make happen. Because that's what we're about, being together, going forward. And when I say going forward, is I mean making strides for these kids. One of the things I would try to do also, I'm very much against the drug usage. And I would try to get more things out there for people to go to and find out. You know, as a parent, sometimes you feel you need to have a resource. Sometimes you're lost. And I would try to make it so there was more resources and make it more noticeable for the parents out there. Another thing that I'm really against is bullying. I believe bullying is terrible, and I know certain kids feel, sometimes they get felt like this in the corner, and you gotta pick them back up. And that's what I did on the football field. That was what I was good at. I was really good at making sure every kid knew that they were special. And that's what I wanted them to know. They were all special. And you may not be the best football player, but you're gonna be the best at something. And you gotta keep remembering that and keep telling yourself that. And be happy with who you are. One of the things we talk about when I'm with the kids, loving life, and you gotta love it. We're here for a certain amount of time, we're here quick, it goes fast. That's what I'm about, and I'm hoping that's what I answered your question properly.
Just a question for the board, I'd like to hear, piggybacking on kind of what you said. What does each one of you see, or what will you do to help these children that feel alone? You know, everybody talks about the money and the education and the sports and this and that, but I haven't heard much of how you're going to do that to make these children, they feel alone in the school of 2000. They're not good enough for the football team, but yet they like to throw it out in the backyard. You know, they're not good enough.
That's why I wanted intramurals.
But maybe they're not that sport kid either. Maybe they're just, I mean, it's terrible with the social media and everything because these people, whether it be, you know, the girls, the boys, they're getting cut down in their own friend groups. They're feeling that alone. So how do you do that? How do you make that happen? How would you make each child feel like they're that one?
Nick, why don't you take this one further?
We were asked a very similar question last night, and what I said was that what I would like to see is I would like to try to find a way to maybe increase some of the, I know some people don't hear this, increase some of the funding for the anti-bullying club and have them either work with the other schools to go around the district to kind of give them some information, because many times it's better that kids hear information from other kids and their experiences. Sometimes the voices of the adults just don't, you know, resonate with them. There's definitely programs from the police department and other outside agencies we can bring in. I have a sheriff's program in my building right now that they're in my room once a week, and they're amazing because it's a different voice and they're doing different things. They're acting out, they're playing skits. So that's one of the things. I also think that, oh jeez, I lost my train of thought. I wanted to say, I hear as you were talking, and I guess I'll come back to it. So that, you know, that's one of the things. I think that the bullying piece is tough because children do feel alone. There are, oh, I know what I want to say. No, I got it. We also talked last night, one of the questions came up about the possible mandate for students to have community service. And I think that fits in really well with your piece of bullying, because you just said kids feel alone. But if we offer them opportunities at the school to do those community service things, then they're going to be with other kids. And maybe they make that connection when they feel alone, and they're being, you know, they're not being friended in their friend group, so they go to this other thing to donate their time, and they meet 2 or 3 kids that like that activity because they have something in common. They wanted to do their community service at this particular event. So that's a piece that can help the kids. And if we bring that piece in and make it proper, we talked about this last night too, make it appropriate so that the kids can accomplish it each year. They can, you know, we offer them stuff even, you know, and there are going to be certain exceptions, don't get me wrong. I know there are special needs kids, there's things like that. But we need to make sure that they have opportunities too. You know, it can't just be a blanket program. It has to be done right so that everybody has opportunities. And maybe those opportunities don't require as much of a requirement because they can't, or we have some homeless children in the district, those are different things. But we have to, as a district, if we're going to implement that, do it the best we can, and I think that goes towards your piece of bringing kids together, and that may be a new avenue for them to find a new friend.
It's a great question. I found out 2 years ago that my own daughter was bullied in middle school, so badly that by high school she was cutting herself. One of our teachers helped my daughter through this. I didn't know. I had no idea. And I think of myself as a mom who's very involved. I check their social media. I watch everything that they do. I meet all their friends. They're not allowed out of my house unless I meet their friends and their friends' parents. So it can happen to anyone. It can be bullied. You can be bullied without the parents even knowing. When I found that out, I felt like a failure. How did I not know? Me, who was so involved in everything. But it happens because of social media, and it happens because children do not speak up. They are afraid to speak up. So we as parents, we need to speak up for them. A bully box in a school or an app that we have is a start. It's not good enough. If we see something as parents, if we go on social media and we see another kid being bullied, we need to call the school and let the school know that it's going on. We need to have more YFS workers involved. Instead of hiring directors and APs and assistants and consultants, we should be hiring more YFS workers and more guidance counselors to help these kids. Because even as parents, again, I didn't know. They need to also learn from example. As parents, if we're going on social media and we're bullying people, then our children are going to think it's okay. If we're up on the board and they're watching my video, and my kids do watch it, and they see all the screaming and yelling, they're going to think that's okay. We have to be the examples. Teachers and parents alike have to come together and we have to be the example. And administrators, we have to be the example. Finally, I just want to address Nick's comment about the mandate. Nick knows how I feel about this. Community service is a great thing. My mother was a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. My children all volunteer for different things, sometimes because I've made them, sometimes because they just wanted to. And that's great. I think volunteerism is awesome, but you cannot force a child to do something. You can't say you must do community service to graduate. They have enough mandates on them as it is. So I don't agree with that, but I do believe in community service. And as parents, if we can get our kids to do those kind of things, maybe it'll help stop some of the bullying. There's not one answer. There is no answer. I mean, bullies have been around since the dawn of time, but
I didn't
we
mean
have
it
to
more
help.
of a bullying, I meant it more of if that kid that's in the corner, you know, that they might not be bullied by.
Well, I love the idea. I saw an
You know what I'm
idea.
saying? By the- It's not
Right.
necessarily a bully situation, it's,
The kid that might.
Okay.
Right, the
Well, I
kid
can tell you,
doesn't feel-
freshman awareness, I volunteered for that. And as a parent, I was walking around and I noticed a child that was sitting by themselves. And I said, you know, you kid, do you want to join in? Didn't want to. So I went over to some of the civic club kids and I said, there's a kid sitting over there by himself. And our kids are amazing. They went over to this kid, they were like, come on, come dance. And they grabbed him into dance. So I love the idea, I read it somewhere, there's a bench that people have. And if a kid goes sit there, other kids automatically goes over there and grabs those kids and involves them. So those are great initiatives that I think we could do at the elementary level, middle school and high school. I'm not real sure that would work, but we all have to teach our kids, we all have to be examples. Thank you.
I love the question, actually, and I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. Parents, teachers, and coaches, we're all disciplinaries and we're teachers and we're trying to make the community better. We need to talk about it a little bit more to the children, and children need to be aware of it more. So that's one of the ways you go hands-on and do something. We can make it part of the criteria that teachers use it and have a discussion about it. Parents, you let them have memos. It's up to the parents, obviously, what you do at your house. If you're at home, you do what you got to do. But as far as coaches too, have a discussion about it. Sometimes we wait till there's a problem and then we try to fix it. Sometimes you got to see the problem coming before and be ready for it. And that's really where it comes down to. So I would try to make it more knowledgeable. I would definitely do that. I went to Dale Carnegie, and that was I went to school and I graduated there. The class was how to motivate people and how to communicate. And it was very important that you communicate and you made eye contact. So these are things that teachers, when I'm on the football field, I am the guy that usually talks to the kids and tell them, listen, you see him over there? Grab him, let him know he's part of the team. When you're going out tonight, I see 4 kids they're talking about going out, and there's 1 kid not going out. I actually say, why don't you see what Victor's doing? So being involved, I'm not afraid to go up to the kid and say, hey, why don't you take it? He's your brother, he's on this team. Treat him like that. And I tell him, later in life, you're gonna feel better about yourself. You may look at me now like I'm crazy, and I talk to them like they're my friends, and I say, listen, you're gonna get older, and you're gonna have kids. And I give them life experiences. And that's what I try to do the most, and let them know what they need to do. And does it work? Sometimes it does, doesn't, no, but being prepared is a big part of it, and I think we need to do a little bit better job with that. Thanks.
Could you do me a favor? Could you repeat the question the way you wanted it answered?
I basically was just looking for like what you would do in the district to help the whole child. And I don't mean extra lunch and homework and all. I mean the kid that is sitting out by himself. What can you see the district do to make that kid feel like something? Because that kid doesn't feel like anything.
Well, I would hope that there would be things that the district could do as far as developing clubs or developing different areas for these types of issues and these types of kids. They have to be noticed. They'll be noticed by other kids and by teachers and what have you. And they should be able to form something where they would be able to get together and explain to themselves why they feel the way they feel. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Connecticut does have a huge opt-out rate, and I understand that the kids who opt out, do opt out, they can't do like classwork while other kids are taking a test because then the other kids are left out of that. But my 7th grader at RMS came home during the ELA so proud that he was able to take a 2-hour nap in the auditorium. What would you guys recommend that the schools do to keep the kids engaged, do something academically without like doing classwork that leaves other kids out, but not like free nap time?
Is
Is
it me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was you.
Is it me? I don't mind.
No, it's me.
No, Eileen's up.
I've been a big supporter of the opt-out movement. I hated the sit and stare policy. I will give the board credit, they did change that sit and stare policy to a sit and, what do we call it, sit and read kind of, it's kind of where you can color if you're in the younger grades, middle school. My opinion is that the children should be able to put on headphones and listen to music. They should be able to talk quietly. Again, right now the way we have it set up is the kids that are taking the test, the 24% of them. So if there's some 4 3rd graders in this classroom, 5 4th graders in that classroom, 7 5th graders in that classroom, in my opinion, you take all the kids that are actually taking the test and put them into the youngest child's classroom, the 3rd grader's classroom, so that they don't feel displeased. Maybe 2 or 3 classrooms. The rest of the kids are not herded like cattle into an auditorium, and they're able to watch a movie. They can do all sorts of different activities without disturbing the kids that are taking the test. But they shouldn't be huddled into this cafeteria where they're told they're not allowed to talk, or if they talk, they have to be really quiet, or they can't eat, or they can't bring in a coloring book, or they can't, it's 3rd to 8th grade. So there's a lot of things that they can do that they're not allowed to do right now. So I think that we can improve on that just by moving the rooms around.
I agree with what Eileen said, but I also have a couple other ideas. I'm kind of an old school guy. I remember growing up and playing checkers, chess, backgammon, all different kinds of games, board games, Monopoly, whatever. The interaction of the kids being together is also going to help them respect one another. and working with their peers and playing with their peers now. So now they're getting a little bit more communication, so, which is gonna help. I think it really, that interaction is so important. They're so busy on their phones nowadays. If you go around, you're gonna see kids on their phones all day, and I think that communication is important. I think a board game is great. You get 5 kids playing board games. My kid comes home, he has some of his friends over there playing Monopoly. I tell him, play Monopoly. Get off the damn computer. Yeah, stop. And that's my way. And I'm not saying it's the perfect way or the only way. Just an idea. What I think would work for the communication of the children to get a little better, and also the mental disorder, so everybody feels partially more together. It's a beautiful thing. Thanks.
Well, I think they should be able to get some clubs together, or let these kids go into different areas where they can talk to each other in the library, not just herding them into the gymnasium or another room. Areas where they can talk to each other and communicate. I think it's difficult for them just to sit in a room with all the other kids and have to be quiet and not be able to communicate as well as they would probably do if they were in a different area.
Well, I've got a lot of answers, but none of them, unfortunately, you're going to like. The first thing is, as much as many of the suggestions that were made, I agree with and I'd like to see, if you read the New York State testing booklet guidelines, there's nothing in the guidelines other than they're allowed to read. So us pushing for crosswords and Sudoku and coloring and all that stuff was a push, and we haven't been called on it yet as a board. For the last 3 years, I've also asked the board and the administration, with some resistance, to do certain activities like that, have review activities. It's not fair to do new activities because the children who are taking the test would be missing out on new curriculum. So we've talked about reviews, project-based activities that are already on previous classwork. Again, it's not allowed. We also could have pushed that envelope had we had 3 board members to vote in that direction. We did not. So I didn't get what I wanted. I was willing to push that envelope and let the commissioner come after us. That's my personal opinion, because I think it's a giant waste of time. What I'd really like to see is the tests go away. I think our teachers are more than capable of evaluating our children, and they do a great job. And we don't need New York State tests that are inappropriate to tell us what our kids are. Our teachers are great. They can do it. So that's what I'd really like to see. Unfortunately, if we get some other board members and I do get reelected, I'm going to ask them to push with me and say, let's not put the kids in the cafeteria. Let's move all the kids. Let's move the kids to testing rooms. Let's move the kids that aren't tested to other rooms and allow them to do some review work that they've already done. Allow them to get together in a group and create some kind of a PowerPoint or a project or something that they've already done to show that they're more than capable of more than just a test. So hopefully I get to do that for you.
I'm hearing a lot of let's love, let's test, let's not take a test. A lot of
Giving you a
nonsense
test
and
next.
a lot of vague answers. And I'm not hearing, what are you going to do? I hear AP classes, I hear special classes. What are you going to do for the average child that graduates from this district and who's going maybe to college and he's not ready for college yet, and he's got to take, I forgot what they call it, but there's intermediate, thank you. Remedial classes in college. What are your plans? And I'd like Robert, who's very vague tonight, give the first answer. What are your plans? I'm sorry, I got to do what I got. What are your plans for those kids?
So Mark, what's your plan to help, or do you have any ideas, I guess, to help students who are taking remedial classes?
That's why I'm up here, to learn a little bit more about the board. I'm going to be honest with you, this is a new game for me. I've been on the football field my whole life, and I know you don't like the vagueness, But I'll tell you what, I became a pretty damn football coach over the time. And I will do the same thing when I'm on the board, if I'm lucky enough to be elected. And I know you don't like to take this, but I will try my best to see what I can do, what avenues I'm allowed. I just found out that he got turned down for the board, the games, in other words, and stuff. I didn't know that. This is new to me, and I will work my tail off to find out what I can do.
I apologize, it's not you that I was pointing at, it's the young man next to you.
No, I just wanted to answer your question. I want you to understand. I think 3 of us up here are new, though. So we're going to give our heart and soul if we're elected and lucky enough. That's really what we're trying to do. He has a question. Am I allowed to answer it, or?
Are we going to finish this question first?
Pass the microphone.
Okay,
Wait.
sorry. I
Question will come.
didn't want to be rude.
I have to agree with Mark, I'm in the same boat, really. I'm new to this, and it's a learning curve. I've been retired for a few years. I have not been that active in the district. I did do my time when I worked here, but I'd like to hear all sides of the issues that are being discussed today, and learn about it. I'm not familiar with a lot of the things that the board have done recently, but I do appreciate it as a taxpayer, and I feel like I'd be able to help if I learned the curve and just have a little more experience in it.
I guess you were referring more to someone else, but I think over the course of tonight, I've said a few things that we've already done and that I'd like to do. One of them being I'd like to not waste 4 hours during testing week. I'd like to take those kids that need the opportunity to get some extra work in and review stuff and get that to them so they can get that remedial help. That's another thing you could do during that time period. I also think that the programs that we're bringing at the high school for students that aren't necessarily going to college are tremendous for those kids that may not be seeking a college education. We're doing that. I've sat on the board and we've tried to make the best possible decision for all the children. One of the things we've done is, I guess we could have taken and fired teachers, or I should say fired, it's a bad word to use. We could have excess teachers at the elementary level, but with the state testing decrease and with AIS needs, we put math consultants in place, which was no cost to the taxpayer because that person was already here rather than accessing them. Had we accessed them, I guess we could have had less of a budget, I guess. So that's a choice I made as an educator because I've been doing this for 19 years. So I think I've made some pretty good contributions. I'll continue to try and make as many as I can. But those are just some of the things that I'd like to see continue for our kids because I think those things help the kids.
I'm definitely new to the board. I've never been on the board, so I've never been elected to the board, but I do go to every meeting, so I'm not as new as Mark or Rob, so I can answer a little bit better. At the board meetings, we have parents come up there and give common sense, free solutions all the time. It's up to the board to take those solutions. If they don't take them, there's not much we can do about it except keep giving them. The average child in our school district is probably the most forgotten child. We spend a lot of money on our AP students, and we spend a lot of money on our special education students. And we should. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. But they are our most forgotten child, the middle kids. Again, I spoke about BOCES. BOCES is never pushed. My own son was very, very, very bored in school. He went to the BOCES STEM program that cannot be replicated at the same cost in Connecticut. And he's doing phenomenal now. He's no longer bored. We didn't fight about homework once he was in that program, and now he's in his second year of college with a full scholarship. So we need to continue pushing BOCES. We can also push tutoring. A lot of these children are being forgotten because there's not enough tutoring opportunities, and unless you can pay for it, you'll go to the library after any school day. There's a million kids in there with paid tutors. So our average kids or our poorer kids need some homework clubs maybe to get the tutoring in there. So we are doing a lot for the kids. We can always do more, and I agree with you, the average kid is being a little bit forgotten, and we need to bring that back in. We also need to keep remembering that our community is a plethora of free resources that we could use. There's plenty of people out here that could teach math, would love to volunteer their time, teach English, would love to volunteer their time. We have a bunch of free resources that we need to start taking advantage of. Thank you.
I'm gonna try to do another question, maybe two more. Starting to get close to 9 o'clock. I don't want the candidates to be here all night.
Keel
so,
over.
but
Board meetings are longer than
we'll
this.
take a couple more. If we can't get your question, I'm happy to take them like by email and submit them to the candidates. Are you all okay staying just a little bit longer for a few more questions?
Whatever makes the community happy.
Okay, all right.
Have you been to a board meeting?
I have very short questions so that others can ask. The two in the middle, because I know Eileen goes to the school board meetings. The other two, have you ever gone to school board meetings?
When I did work with the school district, I was in charge of their construction projects.
No, I'm not talking about, did you?
Yes,
go
and
to
I attended many meetings. I have not attended any meetings this year. I have not had the opportunity to do that.
Since you've been retired, attended the meetings.
No, I've been to a few before, afterwards, not many though.
Yes, I've been to, probably last year I went to quite a few. And then I went to one and I was told I couldn't speak. I got a little turned off. So I started watching it at home, some of the videos. And then what happened was I had health issues and this question came up yesterday. I'm not looking for anybody to feel sorry for me. Everybody has obstacles in life. And we all got to, it's not important what happens when you get knocked down. Okay, it's how you get up. Okay, I lost my mom this year. My dad had cancer and my sister had brain surgery. And I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm just telling you why I wasn't more involved. And I was told I couldn't coach football. That was my heart and soul. So, for the past year, I haven't been around as much as I would like to. But Mama said, stand up and do what you gotta do, son. And that's what I'm gonna do. But before that, I was involved, and I will be involved. And if you ask the people around the district, they know me, okay? And I listen. So I will listen to people. I'm not this type of, believe me, I know we're all teachers, but the most important thing about when you're a teacher is you need to listen. Too many people go around saying and making accusations and what they want to do and this, that, and the other thing. You gotta have an ear. You gotta listen. When you learn how to listen, then you can teach. You listen to all the advice and then you become a better teacher. And that's why I feel the courses I took throughout my career, throughout my life, running a business and doing what I've done with the kids on the football team, having the tragedy that I had, has made me overcome a lot of things. And I am a great candidate that I feel can do a great job for the school, that wants to do a great job. I hope that answers you a little bit.
Mark, you said are you currently coaching?
No. I'd rather not discuss it. It's a personal issue, I guess. I mean, it's nothing that I didn't want to keep coaching, if that's what you want to know. Thank you. My heart and soul is that I love coaching. Thanks.
I actually got a question again for you, Mark.
I just want to ask you a question, Mark. You mentioned while you were speaking that you were at school board meetings and they didn't allow you to speak. You're a resident of the community and a taxpayer. Why can't you speak at a board meeting? Who said you couldn't speak? It's America.
I love you. I believe 100% what you just said.
Why couldn't you speak?
I was told that their lawyer told them not to let me speak. It's on tape. You can go and look at it. It's on one of the sessions. I don't know exactly which one. Okay, I'm willing to listen to you.
I had the same problem.
And just so you know, I'm a gentleman, and you can see by my demeanor, and I was brought up the right way. I do not get loud. I respect people. I listen to their wishes. What was amazing was the guy that was telling me I couldn't speak was the one yelling. And I kind of was a little, okay, I guess this is what we got going on here. So that made me want to get more involved in politics.
I can attest to that as I videotaped it, so I will attest to
Do you know
what Mark was saying.
approximately when that meeting was?
I'd have to go back and look at the tapes, but he was told, no, they're not gonna discuss it.
What was it, like over a year ago?
It's about a year ago.
It was
About a year ago.
Yeah.
I think we had a question in the back.
I guess it's a, like a follow-up, finalized question, so why are you running, and what are you looking to get out of being on the Board of Education?
Who starts? We're
I
still
don't
out
know
of
who's
order.
starting, but I'd like to hear from all.
Isn't that how we close our statement, or?
Yeah, that's
Why
our
don't we
closing.
save that for the
The
closing, if you can all incorporate that in? Is
As
that-
long as they incorporate the answer, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay. I think, Anthony,
Yeah.
did you have a question?
Wait, but who's
Currently,
starting there?
several units within the school have expressed concerns regarding the dysfunction of the Board of Education and the behavior that has resulted in public misconduct. What will you do to help bridge and foster a healthy relationship within the units, and in particular, the teachers' union, which is important for the economics of the school district? Whoever wants to start.
I'll do whatever you want, or you want.
I think we left off, Robert should be next, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm fine with
Can you repeat the
answering.
question, sir?
It's a long one.
Yeah, that's a long one. Repeat that. And say it loud.
Currently, several units within the school have expressed concerns regarding the dysfunction of the Board of Education and behavior that has resulted in public misconduct. What will you do to help bridge and foster a healthy relationship within the units, in particular to the teachers' union?
Well, I think the board members need to listen to the staff and the unions. They're part of the district. They make the rules and the regulations of what they have to follow throughout the contract. And I lost my train of thought. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm the only one
It
who.
was the long question, you know, you
It
went.
really was long.
Come on, man, what are you doing to us? Couldn't answer that at the beginning?
That's a good question.
I'm only
I think.
kidding.
What I see myself doing in the board is just being a voice for the community and for the students, for the staff and the faculty. And that's really all.
I think the relationships with all of the bargaining units and the board are about communication. That being said, I think that over the past couple of years that I've been on the board, we've had pretty good communication with all of the units. So I personally, can I speak, Mr. Lindell?
Stop Lindell, and you gotta begin.
Can I speak?
Excuse me.
See,
let-
this
let-
is the
let him
problem.
answer.
This is exactly the problem. I'm glad you did that, because this is the problem. The problem is that the leadership of the CTA is very combative. And it creates a very poor relationship with the board and with people in the community.
And you need to
And-
contract there. You don't break the contract.
Great, let's, questions, no comments from
I
the audience,
apologize.
let him continue.
And unfortunately, what I was going to say before I was interrupted was that I personally have not had a very good relationship with the CTA because the communication has not been there. Because there have been situations like just happened where it's been very combative. Unfortunately, we don't agree on a lot of things. So it is unfortunate. I learned a lot about the CTA after running last time. They did support me last time because I was an educator. We're being fully transparent. But after learning those things that I learned, I did not want to be associated with their leadership. And I chose to walk away from that. I chose to walk away from being bullied by their leadership, which happens a lot. I chose to find my own path. And unfortunately, I've been attacked publicly. I've been attacked on Facebook. My family has been attacked. So when you talk about having relationships, I would love to have a relationship with every single bargaining unit in this district. I think that the relationship between the board and all units is critical. Unfortunately, I've said this to numerous people, if it means that I personally have to have a bad relationship with the leadership of the CTA, because I believe our teachers are wonderful, and I'm talking specifically about the leadership, then I will take that brunt so that the administration can do their job, and they're doing a great job under the radar when all this garbage is going on. So if that's what I have to deal with, then that's what I have to deal with. And that's part of, unfortunately, what I'm dealing with as a volunteer for this community. Because I've been attacked personally, my family's been attacked. So I know that's maybe not where you're going with this question, but unfortunately that's where it led. I would love to see a better relationship. I really would. That's the way we started out. We wanted to bring everybody together because there was, before I got here, there was some back and forth. And that was part of what we talked about. But it was basically, you're going to do it my way to get this done, and you're not going to involve things. And the community was not part of that, and that was not what I wanted. So I walked away, and I chose to take a different path.
Let me ask you a question.
back down, let the
There has been a lot of dysfunction on the board, a lot of bad behavior on the board. That doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. One person can change the entire dynamic of a board. Again, as I said, I'm on a 9-person board. We don't always agree, but you can have productive arguments. If Brad was to start saying things to me right now that I didn't particularly like, there's a way of reacting or not reacting. It's how you handle it. It's not all about your ego, it's all about communication. Brad can go at me right now, and it's just about how you handle it. Nick, unfortunately, you went back at them, and that creates all this animosity, and that's what we've had for the past 3 years. I've been attacked on Facebook. My tire was slashed over something that had nothing to do with me. I've been yelled at, screamed at. I'm on the Civic right now. We have a project that's going on that some people don't like. They go after me because I'm on the board. It's all in how you respond to it. It does not have to be combative. You can talk to people, you can communicate with people. The union and I don't always agree. That doesn't mean that I can't go out and have a cup of coffee with them and talk and discuss things. Mylene and I didn't agree on IB, for a perfect example. She wants it, I don't. I was adamantly against it. I've still gone to Starbucks and had a cup of coffee with Mylene. You can do that without being combative. You just got to put your egos aside. Thank you.
What was the union backing
I'm sorry?
That was my follow-up.
CTE,
Let the candidate speak, it's their
I
turn.
didn't hear what he said, though.
It's
He
you
actually
guys
was
speak.
backing.
No one's backing me. I'll tell you that.
I feel like everybody's backing me. I'm actually a no-nonsense type of guy. You know, I have a lot of confidence, and that's who I am. I wear my heart on my sleeves. You can talk to me anytime you want. The best thing about what I do, and I know everybody say politicians lie and all this stuff. You know what? Ask me anything you want. You're going to get the same answer every time you ask me. So it's not a matter of what you got to remember and stuff like that. It's coming from here. It's the truth. Okay? So what am I going to do? I'm going to get the people to work together. Okay? I went to school for it. I get people to work together. That's my goal. That's what your goal is when you run a business, because you can't run a business by yourself. You need people to be successful. It's the same thing here. I will get everybody to work together. I can't control what you do, but I got news for you. I can control how I react. That's what I'm good at. I'm not going to get mesmerized by what you do. I've been attacked. There's been things said to me, my family. I didn't get like an animal. I did what I felt was necessary to do to protect my family. That's what I do. That's the type of guy I am. To overreact, you make yourself look bad, and you're basically teaching your kids the wrong thing. I tell my kid, if there's a fight, you walk away. You walk away. Takes 2 people to fight. You walk away. Okay? If you're backed up into a corner, I get it, I understand. Then you do what you need to do if you're backed into a corner. But other than that, you walk away. And he understands that. And I don't care what anybody calls him or anything like that. So it's really up to you how you react, and that's what I would do. I would try to get everybody to work together. And that's what I do for a living. And you know what? You look at me and you can see, there's nothing here except who I am. You got my word. So I'll work with people, whoever it is, because not everybody gets along. Sometimes you get mad at each other. So what? This is the world. This is life. All right. You good? You sure?
I guess I have a question, because I heard a couple people.
Who's being supported by the Teachers
Are any of you
Association?
being endorsed by the Teachers Association?
Yeah, I was approached and I'm being endorsed by them, and I think it's a great thing. I love support.
Anybody else?
I love support, and it doesn't mean I'm going to bend into anything. I'm not that type of guy. I'm going to do what's right for the district and the children and everything.
I'm not implying there's anything wrong with it, I just was.
Oh, well, he asked a question, so he had to have a second part.
I was just asking.
So the second part was going to be, what are you going to do?
I just, you could pass them by, I was just
Okay,
asking.
it's all right, no problem. Sorry,
Being
Patrick.
endorsed by the teachers union for this election.
No problem.
Is anybody else?
I have no friends.
No.
Robert?
Sean's my friend.
No.
No, okay.
Anthony's my friend. Thank you, Anthony.
Wait, is it all units? Wait, Patrick, is
I have
that
2
all
friends.
units or one particular? So nobody's being supported You're being supported by the teachers union, you're being supported by no unions, no teachers, no other units, no union units?
None.
None of you?
None
Okay,
for me.
that's interesting.
Anybody
None
else
that I'm
have
aware
any
of.
other questions? Brian?
Nobody's approached me.
Earlier, excuse me. Earlier was mentioned about top-heavy administration. I agree. I think it's way too heavy on top. What can the board, or has the board, or does the board have any authority over that? You're gonna educate me and a lot of people, so.
Maybe you should ask Nick because he's on the board.
Actually, I think it's Nick's turn to
I
start.
think you should go to Nick because he's on the board. I'd
It's
love
his
to
turn to
know.
start, so.
Well, the board does have the authority to decide whether or not to put forward any hire, that the administration might suggest. So you can start there.
Have they ever said no?
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, we've definitely said no. I mean, I think that, I don't necessarily, I don't want to say I don't feel that it's, I don't like the word top heavy. I think the people that we've put in place, we've chosen carefully, that we've felt that we've had to fill a hole, fill a void. Just to clarify, the budget includes a provision for a guidance person, but that person has not been hired yet. That money can be used for anything in the guidance department. I know Mylan has talked about that as far as using it for other things. So that, we have not hired that person, but the money is slotted so that it can go somewhere to either that position or other positions of guidance. So those are other options you have, is using the money for other things. I guess you can look at all the positions. You can also, when someone comes up for their retirement, you can look at eliminating that position through attrition and not replacing it or giving duties to other people that are still here. That's a good way to kind of eliminate some of the top heaviness if you feel there is. So that's probably things that we'll look at as we go forward in the future. Is somebody's retiring from the administration department? Well, how can we divvy up those duties and try to find a way to not bring a new person back and save that money?
In the past 3 years, we have definitely hired way too many administration consultants and APs when we already have people in place. We already have a supervisor. I think that we should have said no on a lot of them. I was outspoken every time it came up on the agenda that we were hiring another position. I would ask each and every time, why are we hiring this position? Especially with the director of guidance. It's on there as a director of guidance. How you use the money is to be determined, but right now it's slated for a director instead of more guidance counselors for the children. And I think that we need more for the children, less for the administration. Thank you.
I agree with Eileen, what she said. We definitely have spent a lot. I've been watching the meetings and seeing what we're spending money on and stuff. But if I'm on the board, I don't like wasting money, because wasting money, you're taking away from the kids. So I'd rather see the money go somewhere else than just hire somebody. I mean, let's give it to the kids. And when I mean by the kids, the lady before brought up a great point. It doesn't have to be the best student. It doesn't have to be this. We can make something that's for that middle student. We gotta derive something that can make everybody feel special. And I think instead of wasting money on some of the things we do, I think you want to do that to make everybody feel a little special, because you know what? The children are the future, and they're going to be our future, and you know what? We want things to go on and be successful here. That's what I got to say.
I've heard that the board was top-heavy. I've not really experienced it myself, as far as who they've hired, or why they've hired them in the past year or two. So I really couldn't give you an honest answer on that. I do believe that the monies should be spent if they are available for the students. I do know that when I was working for the district, we also had an issue with top-heavy administration. And that problem was eliminated by getting rid of some people at the time. And that's it.
I just want to be clear that there is the job posting currently right now that was for the director of guidance. So it is on, I think it's gonna close in about 10 days. So there is a job posting
Why do
for
we
that
need that?
director.
I shared it on Facebook, it's there.
So if
And I did go on record to say I did not want that
if
position.
that money is not used, that budget line isn't filled, what happens? Does it go back to the general fund, does it go into the reserve, what happens to it?
We go back into the general fund, I believe.
Voting on the bottom line.
Why do we need a director of guidance? We're not in position with other jobs that.
We have an AP.
All right. No,
I'm just curious,
No, I
I'm sorry,
got it.
that's how I'm gonna learn, I'm
No,
gonna
we're
ask
going a little
questions.
bit offline and more discussion.
No
on this.
problem, Patrick.
The format will be lost.
We're good.
Does anybody else have any other final questions? If not, then Terry, can you repeat your
Yes,
question?
please.
And if you can, in your closing, the last
Answer it.
2 minutes or so, just maybe address the point, because I think it was a good concluding question. And I don't want to paraphrase, if you could ask it again.
You know, no pay, thankless, sometimes attacked question. Why are you running? And what are you looking to get out of being on the Board of Ed? What are you getting out of this? Why are you running?
Let's start with,
It's actually Eileen, because I started the
all
last
right,
question.
we'll start with Eileen and go down, that's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
This is
Great.
the
And so
closing
this will be
too?
in addition to answering that question, your conclusion for why you chose
In conclusion, the lottery is now. I just wanted to make mention before I answer that question, that the budget is online. Anyone can look at it, it's online. The minutes for every meeting is online. Anyone can look at it, it's online. The videotapes are done not only by myself, but by the district on YouTube. You can look them up online. If people are doing their job, we don't need more supervisors. We need less chiefs, more Indians. Why am I running for the board? I'm a masochist. I don't really know why I'm running for the board. No, I'm running for the board because I believe that it should be about the kids. I've seen so much dysfunction in the last 6 years that it's just killed me. I know that there's a better way of doing things. I've seen the money being spent like it's water flowing out of everyone's pockets, and we need to do better with that. I know that I question everything, and I oftentimes get ignored. I know we had some of our gentlemen sitting in the audience that used to come to every meeting and yelling at the board, telling them, do this, save this money, and they were ignored. Just because they were loud doesn't mean that they should be ignored. As a matter of fact, they had some great ideas on how to save money. We need more community input. It's been ignored. That's another reason I'm running. I believe that every one of you here has a great idea that we should take because it's free and it'll help our kids. The biggest stakeholders are the parents. They're your biggest advocates for the kids. Our taxpayers are the biggest advocates to not spend the money foolishly. So I want to be a part of that. I want to help the community to bring down costs while educating our kids to the best of our ability. And hopefully I can do that. If I'm not elected, I will still go to the meetings, I will still record them, and I will still publish them so that we can promote transparency in this district and everyone knows what's going on. I hope that answered your question, Terry, besides that I'm a masochist.
Main reason why I want to run for the board is I was taught it's not when you leave this world that matters how much you have, it's what you gave back. I'm a guy that likes to give. It's self-rewarding actually when you have a student that calls you up, a former student, and he calls me up and he tells me, hey coach, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You changed my life, thank you. And nobody knows about it. I'm bringing it up and I'm not looking for a pat or anything. I'm just telling you why, because that was the question. So it's self-rewarding that way. And when you make a difference, you feel good about yourself. And nobody has to know about it. Who cares? Because nobody cares anyway. The only thing that's important is that you care and you make a difference. I had a former student call me up and wanted to go for lunch just to talk and find out what was going on. And I did it. I went to lunch, took him for lunch. He wanted a treat. I said, what, are you kidding me? Don't embarrass me. But we had a good time, we talked. And these, if you want to ask me and know the students or anything, I have no problem. Another question, I guess you want to know why. I want the community to know that I'm passionate. I'm passionate about assisting the children of Connecticut and learning and growing. I'm excited about the prospect of being a Board of Education member. and being able to serve the community. It's where I chose to live, okay? I promised the community to work hard, listen to all stakeholders. It's important that you listen. Make the best educational decision that I can. Okay, it may not be agreeable with everybody, and I'm not looking for friends here. Okay, so I know there's gonna be people that are gonna be mad at me, but I've been down that road already. It's okay. You're really not my friend if you're that mad at me, because I'm doing what's best for the community. I believe in transparency, honesty, driven by respect, and that's really what matters, and the community, and to educate the children more. And that's what you're going to get from me if I'm elected. Thanks.
Well, I had an opportunity when I was employed by the district, for the district giving me what I thought was my life at the time. The district is family. We're all family. I would like to see more communication. You know, a board member needs to listen to everybody and be transparent. And he listens to both sides and not make a decision until he hears all the sides, because you can't make a decision if you only hear one side.
I want to start off by saying it's unfortunate that tonight we've talked about a lot of the chaos that has gone on in the last 3 years, and those are the words that have been used, and the screaming and the fighting. And unfortunately, while our district has moved forward, and our administration has done a phenomenal job, along with the help of the board, including the current members that are sitting here, there's been one major issue that we did not agree on, which has gotten a lot of airtime and a lot of playtime, and two smaller issues that have gotten a lot of airtime and a lot of playtime. And we don't talk enough about the educational stuff that goes on in this district. We talk about the garbage, and that's the sad part. That's the really sad part of being on this board. It's made me sad as a lifelong educator to have to go through that, because I truly believe that this district is an amazing educational opportunity for all of our kids. We provide our kids with so many opportunities, so many clubs, so many programs, all thanks to you, the taxpayer. So I'm a little saddened by that. That's what we talk about all the time, because I'd really like to talk about the wonderful things that go on. That being said, my story starts 30 years ago. At age 16, I was volunteering as a baseball coach. I did not have any children. The gentleman who was the vice president of Hot Dog Little League had a brain tumor. I started doing some of his duties, and I was asked by the board to become the vice president of Hot Dog Little League at age 16. I did that for 9 years. I learned a tremendous amount there about how to be a public servant, how to be around people, how to be around kids. I fell in love with kids. That's why I became an educator. I have a business degree. I had that first. But I changed my entire path because I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to spend my life and my career around children. And that's what I do every day. So I love being here. I love being part of Connecticut. I love being part of the process of moving our district forward and getting good programs out there to your kids. I hope that you continue to let me serve you that way. My wife is an educator. It's what we do. I've really been humbled over the last 3 years to be able to serve you and your kids, and I hope you continue to let me do that. Most importantly, though, go out and vote for the budget. It's no cost to you this year, but that's the most important. It doesn't matter who you're voting for up here. It's more important that we pass the budget. There's some safety measures in there. The doors are in there for security purposes, which we're all concerned with security nowadays. We've put that in there. That's where a lot of the increase, where we took the money out of the unfunded balance to pay for the doors. So that's where some of the increase came from. But again, it's out of money we already had. Those are really important things. So don't let the budget fail, because that's important. It really doesn't matter who you vote for, but the budget's got to pass. So have a good night. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Before our four candidates leave, I just think we owe them all a round of applause. I think there was talk about chaos, but the wonderful things includes the fact that we have four really good people that are up here. I respect the fact that you're running and that you want to give back to the community. It is a thankless job and one that I'm happy to live in a district that four people want. And I think you're all good people, and
thank you for coming and
Thank you.
answering our questions and being here tonight, and good luck to all four of you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you again.
See you guys Thursday?
We did have a couple of, if people can hang around, we had a couple of the fairly important things that are here on the agenda that relate to the community. The first one is just our civic board itself. Is there anybody interested in nominating someone here or someone else that they know to be on the board? We have 2 open director positions, and the current board is actually all up for re-election. We've asked for nominations.